Good evening. I would like to speak to a defining moment in one's life. It's actually two short stories, both concerning my father, who's up here. I wasn't sure in the writing of them they connected, but hopefully in the telling they will relate to each other. My father worked for Norfolk Western Railway for 42 years. And one thing to know about this man was he was a great and loving husband and father to 6 children, me being the second oldest and the favorite. The other thing to know about him was he was an incurable pack rat. Most mornings he came home with a treasure that he was either given or found en route. And trash collection days were like Christmas for him. On this one particular day, he came in and announced to my brother and me that he had seen this perfectly good chair by the curb down our street around the corner and told us to go fetch it. Now, I was 11 or 12 years old, my brother 3 years younger, and I was at an impressionable age when I firmly believed that retrieving discards from the curb was beneath me. But off we went down the street. So we got on the street, and we find the house and spy the object. We walk up to the object, walk up to the chair, and we're about to pick it up, and the door opens from this house, and this young boy stepped out, who was about 2 or 3 years older than I was, and he proceeded to yell at us and call us poor white trash, at which point I dropped the chair and immediately burst into tears and walked quickly home with my brother trailing behind. We got home, and my father asked where the chair was. So I proceeded to tell him what had happened. And without missing a beat, he said, "Come with me," to my brother and I. So I was cringing. I did not want to go back down there, but off we went. So we follow Dad down to the house. He goes up to the door and knocks on the door. And a man came to the door, and Dad told him what had just happened. And that man called back into the house, and this boy appeared, the same boy appeared at the door, and the man asked him if he had said that. And through tears, the boy admitted that he had said that. And that man apologized to my father for what had happened and told him to please take the chair. And my father said, "No, thank you, I don't want it now." And we walked home in silence, and no further words were needed. In that brief moment, I knew exactly who my father was. I knew who I was and how much I meant to him. And so I realized that my father had given me, I didn't know what it was at the time, I had no name for it. Only years later did I realize that I had just been given a defining moment in my life by my father. Now, I planned to tell that story 7 years ago at my father's memorial service. I didn't because I thought I would cry. But I didn't, or would have, I didn't tell the story. So I told this story instead, also starring my father. About a week before he died, my mother and sisters and I convinced him to join us in going to the celebration in honor of our beloved Aunt Shirley, who had passed away the previous week. So he was somewhat weak, and I helped him get dressed, and off we went to this beautiful farm in Kent County. And it was a lovely day. It was a lot of people, a huge tent, and abundance of food. And so we're all just talking and milling around. At some point in the afternoon, this young man passed through the tent. And as I looked up, I noticed that sticking out of his shirt pocket were plastic utensils, a knife, a fork, and a spoon. So after he passed by, I glanced over at my father, and we both started to chuckle. And so after the young man had walked on down, I looked again at my father, and I see this to me. So I walk over, and he said, "See that young man down there?" "Yes." I asked him to come over here. I'm going to talk to him. Oh, Lord, I got it. So, you see, the joke was, it was a long-standing family joke in our family that whenever my father was going to an event at which he thought there would be food, he traveled with his own utensils in his shirt pocket, knife, fork, and spoon, much like these. Napkin in his pocket. I wasn't the prop master at Virginia Opera for 10 years for nothing. So I'll go down to where the guy is sitting, and I apologize and said, "Would you please come follow me? My father wants to speak to you." So he did. I brought the man up to my father, and I walked away, so I have no idea what Dad said to him, and stepped back down. Later in the afternoon, I was sitting outside on the lawn, and I looked over at Dad again, and again I get the finger. I walk over, and see that man over there? Yes. Ask him over here, I want to talk to him. So I'll go over to the man, bring him to Dad, and this time I stayed around. Dad just wanted to tell him he admired his attire. Thank you, Dad, I love you. And thank you all for listening and coming out to support ForKids.